That's going to make one hell of a Netflix documentary.
Sauce just is that final piece to the puzzle, if you ask me.
Trey Tucker this week. Mark it.
They've definitely got the best CB room now in the league.
The Jets are winning the Super Bowl by 2030. Welcome back to the Early Hours podcast. Things were getting very trady this week with 9 players packing their bags and going to other teams. Look, we'll get onto that momentarily. But before then, Monday Night Football, it was the Cardinals at the Cowboys. Cowboys scoring 17, Cardinals 27. But the story here, Jacoby Brissett, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. He led the charge in that game, and he's looking like he's going to be leading the charge for the foreseeable in Arizona.
Who knew Jacoby Brissett could be the answer for the Cardinals? He's 6-1 for 860 yards off 2 games, and QB1 over in Arizona. They came off a bye, got the win. The Cowboys not looking good for a second week in a row. Obviously, they go into their bye week this week. Hopefully, they can turn it around, but they need more from Dak. They need more from CD, Pickens, even Javonte Williams last week. So, the Cardinals looking good. They've got a fair bit to catch up on their divisional rivals, but Jacoby Brissett, QB1, and see if he can carry on that form throughout the season.
Yeah, you say QB1. After that game, Kyler Murray officially being put on IR. We don't actually know the extent of that injury, but maybe that was a bit of a soft benching because of how well Jacoby did in that game. But yeah, Cardinals coming off of a bye and using that rest week to really hit the Cowboys at home. The Cowboys also going into a bye this week, so hopefully they have the same sort of energy in week 11, and they'd be hoping for a win coming out of that, else it could be curtains for them. Boys, the trade deadline was this week. A lot of big money moves. My question is, are we seeing like a norm when it comes to spending for these players? Is the norm now 2 first-round picks for someone of elite caliber?
Short and sweet answer, yes, I think so. We saw it a few years back, the trend of contracts, starting to really escalate out of the QB market and hit really all positions in the league. And the same can be said for the collateral that now has to go the other way for these big trades to happen. Probably a good place to start, since we've just come off the back of the Cowboys Monday Night Football conversation. Dallas Cowboys trading for 3-time Pro Bowler Quinnen Williams on a 4-year, £96 million extension that he recently signed. The Cowboys are going to have to pay $50 million of that over the next 3 years. So that is a substantial amount of money. And look, we spoke about the collateral already. They're also giving up a 2026 second rounder and a 2026 first rounder. So quite crucial there. Not the first round pick that they acquired from the Packers. That is, of course, in 2027. But we are starting to see Jerry make moves off the back of that trade already. So very pivotal already.
Definitely. It's like you got a bigger picture out of that trade. Who do you think won that now that, Jerry's effectively replaced him and still got some collateral to spare?
Yeah, it's a really good point you make there, Goody. And look, at the end of the day, Williams is an elite defensive tackle. There's no two ways about it. And don't forget, the crucial part of that trade, they acquired Kenny Clark as well. Forget the picks for a second. They've managed to now, in the course of the last sort of 3 months, it's fair to say, the Cowboys have managed to acquire Kenny Clark and Williams and actually plug that hole that they've been seeing all season long, which is the run game. And yeah, the Jets were busy. The Jets were busy, man. Any other blockbuster trades go down from the Jets?
The thing about the Jets is that even if they weren't trading anyone, some of the players still wanted to be active. Breece Hall, for example, wasn't on the move, but he was very active on Twitter, tweeting things out, deleting them as well. It was actually very entertaining to watch, but he was liking some tweets as well. Someone tweeted out, guy traded a 3rd round for Kadarius Toney, but Breece Hall is where we draw the line. Obviously, the Jets' asking price was reported to be a 3rd for Breece. The Chiefs were interested, but couldn't stretch that high. Is that a missed opportunity for Kansas?
You could look at it both ways, couldn't you? Obviously, we don't know the sort of workings that go on in the background. For me, if it had been a conditional 3rd that they'd put on the table, just that one step up from the 4th, I think the Jets snapped their hands off, if I'm honest, because ultimately what this has now left the Jets in is a really tough situation. Let's not forget, Breece Hall is on a 4-year rookie deal still. And with the fact that he's not a first-round pick, there's no 5th-year option. So that leaves them in a really tight spot. After 2025, the Jets must either extend him, which naturally when you extend a player, then the massive contract comes. They've got to invest in that player for the future. And also it puts, puts pressure on trades in the future, because people don't want other GMs don't want to pick that contract up. They can either franchise tag him, which we know has implications, or they can let him hit free agency, which means that they risk losing him for absolutely nothing. So a fourth might seem appetizing in half a season's time.
Yeah, we've seen that as well with the likes of Barkley, coming out of New York and going to the Eagles. A big loss, and if you don't back these sort of players, then someone just swoops up. Maybe that's why Kansas didn't want to put the price tag up, because they think they could get him in the open market.
Very, very true. Very true. And look, the Jets didn't stop there. I think
I couldn't believe this. If it's someone who I think you're about to say, that this was it a waste of a pick for them, or is it good? Is it good business?
Well, let's see. I mean, look, they chose not to flog their disgruntled, outspoken RB who took to Twitter all night in a contract year, no less. And instead, they decided to trade their superstar generational cornerback, Sauce Gardner. And they're going to have to eat a 13 mil signing bonus now that they've done that. But yeah, let's not forget, they signed him to a 4-year, £120 million contract in the offseason. And it just, well, the writing's on the wall for the Colts, isn't it?
What's really interesting quickly for the Jets, obviously you said Williams off a new contract, Sauce Gardner off a new contract, Breece Hall coming to the end of his contract. I think they were probably signing Justin Fields in the summer thinking all these stars are signing, we're going to improve, and they're 2-7. So it is the Jets again going, this hasn't worked, let's sell all our players and rebuild again. And do you know what, fair play to them. The collateral they've got is massive, and they can go again in the next couple of years. For the Colts, amazing. Who knew that the Colts would be going all in this season for the next couple of years? They're putting all their eggs in the Dan Jones basket. Dan Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Pittman up front. Cornerback, they've got Mooney Ward and Sauce Gardner. They've definitely got the best CB room now in the league, and they genuinely, hopefully, could contend over the next couple of years, which is just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this puts them in an absolute win-now situation. And let's look at the contract here. Look, he's still owed $85 million of that. So this isn't a rental for the Colts. This isn't we'll pick it up and see how it goes. This is a statement that Indy are all in.
That's going to make one hell of a Netflix documentary if the Colts pull this off. Genuinely, I think it's going to be some good viewing. Actually, as well, Over you had a little tongue slip earlier. I think you said French tag. Quite like that. It's really good way to say it. But yeah, man. But look, let's go back to just seeing what the Jets are doing. This rebuild is going to go crazy. They have got 2 firsts in the 2026 draft, 2 seconds, and 3 firsts in 2027. The Jets are winning the Super Bowl by 2030. Mark these words.
It's a very Jets thing to waste all of those picks and get to 2030 and rebuild again.
Yeah, 100%. All this does is mount the pressure on New York, right? They've got a real opportunity here to scope the market, understand, really plan ahead, get a feel for which quarterbacks are coming out of the draft. Or on the flip side of that, they've now got collateral in hand to really attack the market, exploit areas. Is Joe Burrow going to be on the move in a couple of years? Injury prone for the Bengals. Bengals probably not far off a rebuild themselves if they were to lose Chase and T and Trey. And that's the thing I'm most interested in. This has put the Jets in the front runner position over the course of the next 2 draft classes, and it's exciting. You've got to, granted, they're parting ways with key players and key pieces, but Jets fans have got to be excited, haven't they, for what's to come?
100%. And even if they weren't going to use all those picks to draft players, they've got that collateral to go out and get a big money signing as well if they think that's going to help their rebuild. So yeah, an exciting time to be a Jet for sure. Speaking of Sauce Gardner, look, he's actually set to be the first player to ever play in London and Germany in the same season. But this matchup, it's really one to watch with the running back room. You've got Jonathan Taylor versus Bijan Robinson. Could be quite a cracker, really. The fans are always really good in Germany.
It's always great. German sports are always fantastic. You take NFL, you take, our version of football in the UK. The Germans are always passionate. This game will get them excited. Jonathan Taylor, RB1 or 2 this year. Poor game last time out, but, perfect against the Falcons to have his comeback game. Bijan Robinson, probably not at his best last couple of weeks. It's been more of a Drake London show, but again, that gives Sauce Gardner and the team a good opportunity to kind of stop him and show how good they can be. But the Colts, the rightful favourites, but who knows on foreign soil, have the Falcons got that German following to get them over the line? We know it'll be loud over there. We know it'll be crazy. And it's a really good opportunity for Germany to show that what they're all about to the US fans as well.
100%. I mean, Jonathan Taylor averaging 5.1 yards per carry. Dan Jones, he's completed
That's half a down.
Oh.
That's crazy.
Dan Jones, absolutely, my man. Dan Jones completing 68% of his passes since week 6. Offensive lines balling out, defensive fronts balling out. I think Sauce just is that final piece to the puzzle, if you ask me. And, we flip to the other side of the game. The Falcons, if they're going to win this, for me, got to lean on Bijan Robinson. Might have to look to use play action against what we just discussed, a really, really fierce D-line. And that secondary, they're going to have to confuse Sauce. They're going to have to confuse the cornerbacks and the DBs. And yeah, keep Penix moving. Get him out the pocket. Don't let him get sacked. It'll end the game early if he does.
Foreign soil, anything could happen. So one to watch there for sure. And another early kickoff for us UK fans, which is great to see. Elsewhere on Sunday, we've got the Buccaneers at the Patriots. The Bucs here coming off of a bye. The story is potentially still no Bucky Irving.
Yeah, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they don't want to slip from that guaranteed, top seed position. This is a real tricky game, I think, for them that could catch them out. The New England Patriots, they allow a league low of 75.4 rushing yards. So if we are going to see Rashad White, he's maybe going to have to enter the receiving game a little bit more. And on the flip side of that, Tampa coming into this game with a little bit of momentum. Their QB, Baker Mayfield, as we know, potential MVP candidate, he has 7 touchdowns and only 1 interception since week 6. But he faces a Pats defense with 9+ turnover differential. So these guys are firing on all cylinders, it's fair to say. And if Drake May can move the ball, I think it's game on for the Patriots.
Yeah, this is a 7-2 Patriots, by the way. We're talking like Tom Brady era of heat in New England, so it's going to be a good game regardless. But as a Bucky Irving and Rashad White owner in fantasy, it was so funny seeing basically the projections completely flip overnight. And if the fantasy app is telling you that Bucky Irving's not going to play, you should probably bench him. Elsewhere on Sunday, we've got the Ravens at the Vikings. Both teams looking to get their seasons back on track after important wins last week, and Lamar Jackson set for another stormer. And then we've got the 6-2 Bills. They're at the 2-7 Dolphins. A questionable James Cook for the Bills, but I don't see that going any other way than a Buffalo win. And then how about this one? We've got the Jaguars at the Texans. Jacksonville being very busy in the trade market as well, acquiring Jacoby Myers. He's coming in from the Raiders. He could be a potential WR1 for Jacksonville.
Absolutely. With Hunter on IR and Brian Thomas Jr. questionable, this is an absolute goldmine of an opportunity for Jacoby Myers. However, he is coming up against a Texans secondary that we have spoke about all season long. They only allow 7.4 yards per attempt, so bottom 10 in the league. And I think the Texans, even without CJ Stroud here, could potentially pick up a win in a crucial divisional matchup.
Yeah, the Texans are no pushover, especially with their resurgence of form. But look, Jacoby Myers, I'm fully backing him. He was actively wanting to be traded, and he got on that plane to Florida pretty quickly after the announcement, and he was in the Jacksonville training camp the next day. So I think he's a pretty good asset for Trevor Lawrence. And like you say, with Travis Hunter on IR, that protocol is at least another 3 weeks until he's got any sort of competition for that spot.
I bet he wishes it was a week earlier that the trade went through, because he was playing them at the weekend, wasn't he? The Raiders and the Jags. So he could have just hopped on the plane back with them. But yeah, it wasn't to be. So I'm sure he's going to make his debut this week and be in full force.
An interesting game to watch there. Elsewhere, we've got the Cardinals at the Seahawks. The Cardinals getting a lot of love this episode. But the Seahawks, they're currently number 1 in power rankings. Let's just repeat that. Number 1. Not like number 1 in their division. Number 1 overall in the NFL. But the Cardinals looking good with their new QB. Who have you got for this one?
I think you'd have to go the Seahawks. Again, like we said about the Colts, who saw it coming? Who saw the Seahawks number 1 in the power rankings halfway through the season? They look really good, to be fair. 6-2. Obviously, they've had a bye week. Probably expect them to go 7-2. And Sam Darnold playing really well. And we've said last week, Jackson Smith and Jigba probably WR1 at the minute. And they look overall pretty good. I think, if we're honest, their fixture list has been relatively easy. They've only played, they've not played the Rams yet. Obviously, they've got lost to the 49ers in the division as well. So it's tight up there, but they look really, really good. And if the Cardinals can beat them, then that's a huge statement win. But the favourites has to be the Seahawks this weekend.
This one just comes down to the passing game for me. It's, can they let Darnold use his arm? Obviously, they recruited Rashid Shaheed as well this week. He adds an absolute deep threat, and ultimately, I think they've brought him in I genuinely believe they brought him in to utilise him in that deep threat, but also just to open doors for JSN and just break coverage on JSN as well. Wide receivers, they're averaging 8.1 yards per target for the Seattle Seahawks, and unfortunately for the Cardinals, they've allowed 11 passing touchdowns in the league in the last 4 games, I should say. So it's not a convincing stat, is it, against an informed Sam Darnold and JSN?
I wonder, with the Colts doing the business that they did to acquire Sauce, I wonder if that started flagging for the likes of the Seahawks, saying, right, if they're going to start investing, then we need to as well, because the Seahawks look like Super Bowl contenders themselves. So, it's that sort of mind games when it comes to acquiring players before that deadline. You mentioned the Rams very quickly. They are playing the 49ers this week, an NFC West divisional matchup, with the 49ers coming away with a 26-23 win only a few weeks ago. A season-defining match for them both.
It's a huge game. Again, obviously, 6-2 Rams, 6-3 49ers. Very close game earlier in the season at Levi's South at SoFi. Obviously back at Levi's this week. 49ers more injury troubles since then, so it's going to be even tougher. Well, obviously we've not spoken about it before. Who knew that we had massive injury troubles? But look, Puka Nacua apparently going to be fit. He's questionable at the moment, so the Rams come into it huge favourites again. They're number 2 in the power rankings. You can't write it, The NFC West, a massive, massive division this year, especially if the Cardinals want to get back into it. So, Shanahan definitely has the edge over McVay over the years, and what a job he's doing. To say, if you look at our injury list, look at the active squad, the majority of them didn't start the season on the 53, and to be 6-3 is amazing. But yeah, if we can beat the Rams this weekend, huge statement. But again, you've got to favour the Rams coming into it.
Give yourself some credit as well. I think, the Niners have won 3 straight divisional matchups. So, they've shown that they can be clutch in pressure situations, and that's ultimately all you need to do. You need to be getting that top spot out of that division and taking it into the playoffs. And I think the Seahawks are going to hope to have their feet up from the early slot and be watching this one.
And you're at home as well, so you've got some advantage there. And then to round out the Sunday slate, we've got the Steelers at the Chargers. Pittsburgh had a pretty good game, actually, against the Colts. Do you fancy them against this Chargers side?
I do, yeah. I think Aaron Rodgers looked great in the last game, and ultimately the defensive front really took a step forward. They forced 6 turnovers last week and 5 sacks, which is crazy. And I had to sort of fact check that. I was like, 5 sacks? But yeah, they really managed to get to Dan Jones and they caused problems. And I think the Chargers play similar in a lot of ways. They'll be looking to get the ball to Vidal. They'll be looking to get the ball down the field and stretch the field like Dan Jones does with Pittman. And I think it can be if they can get a smart game plan in place from Mike Tomlin, it could be a really fiery matchup.
But before all of that, we've got Thursday Night Football. We've got the Raiders at the Broncos. The Broncos under Bo Nix looking generational, potentially you could say, but don't count out this Raiders side, especially with Brock Bowers going nuclear last week. And with Trey Tucker now WR1, it could be his show. I've got some next-gen stats for you. Trey Tucker, he's averaged 15 miles an hour on his routes this season, making him the 9th fastest in average speed in the NFL. He could pull out.
Who would have thought it, man? I love that for Trey.
I think it could be the Trey Tucker show. We're gonna be coming back. Forget Bam Night. Forget anyone else. It's Trey Tucker this week. Mark it.
Unfortunately for Oliver, I think it's going to be Brock Bowers. And I think Ashton Genty will get more snap share. It's interesting for Geno Smith. We said last week he had his probably first good game. Well, say goodbye to your WR1, Geno. So he's going to be reintroduced even more to Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers this week. And I think it's a long night for the Raiders against a good Broncos defence.
They're going to have to start playing 12-man formation a lot more, aren't they? Because they can't. There's no receivers, so they're just going to have to utilise Brock Bowers.
Do you not understand?
It's
Trey Tucker. That's what's going on this week.
Honestly, Trey, man, you're throwing me all out of sorts here. But yeah.
He's going to have another 40-point week. Don't remember what he did earlier in the season.
I wanted to focus on the other side of the ball. RJ Harvey. He's going to have a really solid game. Sean Payton's been getting him a lot more involved the past 3 weeks. He's been taking a lot more of the red zone targets away from J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, one to watch. And if he's still on the waivers, grab him. Grab him at a fast rate. He is one to watch for sure.
Sorry, just trying to grab him on the waivers right now. No, I'm joking. But who have you got though? For me, I'm going to back the Raiders.
Oh, really?
100%. Give me the Raiders all day long.
It's the Broncos for me, 7-2 and at Mile High Stadium. There's one winner there, I'm afraid.
Yeah. The thing is, the interesting thing with this is, do you see how I'm just avoiding my take on this, on who's going to win?
You guys are boring.
I think if the Broncos don't win this, this could be a real this could start a real downfall for them. They've got a couple of tough games coming up. They've still got a lot of their divisional games to play. The Chiefs are finding form. The Chargers, if they pick up another win over the Steelers, they go 7-3, I think it is. So yeah, it's a crucial game. I'm gonna go with Denver to win it. Well, I can't wait to prove both of you wrong on Monday's episodes, as well as go over the Sunday scores. That's all we've got time for on today's episode. Let us know who you've got in the comments, and we'll catch you again next week.